This week on Previews World Weekly, we unpack the Marvel 616 trailer, take a look at the new Rosario Dawson first look at a Socatano, and Chadwick Boseman gets honored by a fellow hero. Or is that an anti-hero? It's all happening right now on Previews World Weekly.
What's up, Previews World? It's Wednesday. It's New Comic Book Day, which means it's time for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen,
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood,
a.k.a.
the Duchess of Free Comic Book Day, but it's not Free Comic Book Day anymore. It's Halloween Comic Fest, spooky time. I'm wearing this witch's shirt. Halloween Comic Fest coming to a comic shop near you.
All
really
right.
fumbled that one.
That's okay. No, you caught it though. I was sitting there. I was like, uh-oh. I think I threw the ball, and I think Ashton's going to fumble. But nope, Ashton caught it. She got it. She got it. She made it. It wasn't pretty, but we got it.
Thank you.
So what's going on, Ashton? What's happening with you in the world? Everything going good this week?
I think so. I had my interview with Alice Oseman on Monday. We talked about her graphic novel series Heartstopper. It was wonderful. We had a lot of audience interaction, which was great. So if you guys want to catch that now, you can find it on our YouTube channel. Watch that after the fact.
All right. Yeah. Don't switch off now, but definitely watch it afterwards. Because yeah, actually it was a pretty popular one too. People definitely tuned in. So definitely check that out, especially if you're a big fan of non-superhero books, more like a slice of life type of title. Definitely that. Then check this out because Ashton did, according to Johnny, Ashton did a bang up job. I thought she did okay, but Ashton thought she did Johnny thought she did a bang up job.
Right.
So things we saw this past week. I'm gonna go first, right? Just because I want to yell the words Akira in a second, right? So Akira, right? Or Akira. That kind of sounded a little bit. It didn't come out the way I wanted to say. Akira.
There it is.
All right, there you go.
You should be proud of that.
Yeah, if you want to be that type of nerd, which I definitely am, then yes, you will yell it like it is in the movie. It hit its 100th printing in Japan, or it's about to hit its 100th printing in Japan. And this is actually pretty big because like this book itself is a milestone. It's an important marker, not just in manga, not just in comic books, but also anime as well. And Kodansha released a press release late last week that basically said that the book that was originally released in 1982 is hitting the big 100, and there's the creator. And like, yeah, they did like a nice little celebratory just announcement about it. And, it changed the game, like in a lot of ways. I think, especially here in America, Akira, however you want to say it, introduced a whole generation of readers to the manga, to the manga medium, to manga. And then on top of that, like the animation introduced a whole generation of viewers to anime. So yeah, it's a nice little benchmark. And a lot of books have hit their 100th printing, but also a lot of them have not. So I think it's a big deal, and I thought it was really cool to chat and really cool to just kind of note as terms of things that happened this past week. Also, cool things that happened in the last couple of weeks. Ashton, you want to talk about The Mandalorian?
Yes, I do.
All right.
So we finally got that first look at what Rosario Dawson's going to look like as a Socatano. Interestingly, it came out as like part of the packaging on the toy for her lightsaber hilt.
Of course.
Right. But it's pretty spot on. Like, I'm really excited about it. I think sometimes it can be hard to take someone that's animated and make them a person and not lose elements of what made them compelling in the first place. So based off of, I guess, just this alone, and it's only in like the blue light of her sabers, I think it looks incredible. I'm super excited to see her come to life.
Yeah, absolutely. We had this whole back and forth, and I swear to God that Rosario Dawson was playing Ahsoka, and we confirmed that she's playing Ahsoka. But I got to say, after looking at that packaging, I'm still not sure if Rosario Dawson's playing Ahsoka. It looks like Ahsoka. I just don't know if it looks like Rosario Dawson. So
I mean, does it need to look like Rosario Dawson? Doesn't it need to look like Ahsoka?
I mean, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, you have your point. You're absolutely right about that. I just had to note that I was like, that doesn't look like Rosario Dawson at all, but it does look like Ahsoka, so I'm down with it.
I mean, Ahsoka's orange with all the white stuff, so it's like it's not going to look like Rosario Dawson by the time they're done anyway.
Right.
So.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Industrial Light and Magic will do their thing, or whoever does makeup these days. I don't even know anymore. I'm such an old timer. I still think it's Nicotero and his crew who did The Walking Dead, but that's not even the case anymore. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're both excited about Ahsoka being on The Mandalorian. This is kind of like her live action debut, which I know a lot of people have been waiting for, myself included. So yeah, I'm pumped. And we got like what, 1 month? Like just 1 month, right?
Yeah, like literally 30 days.
Literally 30 days. All right, I'm here for it. Also, actually, before I skip to another Disney Plus related topic, right? I also want to point out that Todd McFarlane announced today that he's going to be doing a Chadwick Boseman tribute on Spawn number 311. Now, you're probably sitting there like, why is he doing a Chadwick Boseman tribute on Spawn number 311? It makes sense once you see the image itself. So, Johnny, can you throw that up real quick? Of course, Al Simmons is a Black superhero, and he always has been. Like, that's been the case since Spawn number 1 in 1991, 1992. And so, yeah, I guess McFarlane was moved enough to make this happen. And of course, there's a little quote here from McFarlane on it looks like Facebook or Twitter, definitely Facebook because there's too many words for Twitter. Given the limited amount of minority characters in the comics industry today that are considered major superheroes, I thought it appropriate for one of those well-known superheroes, Spawn, to pay tribute to a man who made a lasting impact on helping shape such a strong superhero of color. So yeah, I think that's actually really cool that he did that because I don't think McFarlane has any real love for Marvel, but at the same time, he noted the importance and took advantage of the situation. And yeah, it's a cool little tribute. Why the heck not? I'm into it. Also, jumping back to Disney Plus real quick, two things. First of all, I'm really excited about this Nick Fury TV show that's popping up. I loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know a lot of people were like, oh, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and just kind of noped out early on in the show. But after season 1, like most shows, it gets its footing after like when season 2 kicks in. Kind of goes back and forth. But the thing that was missing for most of that show, because Sam Jackson did show up on that show, but the thing was missing was Sam Jackson. So I'm really excited about that. But also coming to Disney Plus is a show called Marvel 616, which is an 8-episode series that are all documentaries. Now, when I first saw the thumbnail for the trailer, I was like, oh God, Marvel's failing themselves. Here we go. All right. But once you really start to kind of like look at it and just kind of understand what they're going for here, it's comic book history, which is I'm an absolute sucker for. Like, I'm a fan of it. And like, it's interesting because they're going to unpack some of the unknown elements of Marvel, at least like if you're not like deeply like, fully immersed in the Marvel universe, like some people are, like Troy, right? But they're also going to talk about like their relationship to fandom as well. And I thought that was also really cool. It's the first episode is going to be about the Japanese Spider-Man interpretation that hit, I think, Japan in the 1970s, which is completely different from the Spider-Man that we know and love, but also very popular. They also are going to do one about forgotten characters. There's going to be one about the women of Marvel, and I'm hoping that they actually take time to talk about the women previous to the 2000s, because I've noticed that that's a pattern that they kind of get left out of the conversation, but there definitely are plenty that should be noted. They're going to talk about the relationship to comics and toys, which I'd imagine will involve Toy Biz in some way, shape, or form. And I love comic book history. I love when comic book companies, or entertainment companies or whatever, want to educate the general audience about the history of comic books. And I love that Marvel's leaning into this. And fun fact, Alan Moore actually coined the phrase or the term Marvel 616, which is basically the Marvel universe that's in the comic books, right? Which I think is pretty amusing because as much as Alan Moore tries to distance himself from comics, it just keeps coming back to him.
Can't stop himself.
He can't stop himself. I mean, like he doesn't. He wants nothing to do with comics right now, as far as I know. But yeah, Alan Moore, he came with the term 616, and I think it was in this Captain Britain series. So there you go. This is a little fun fact. All right, that's enough chatter. How about what's at comic shop time? You ready for this, Ashton?
I'm hype.
All right, let's do this. What's at comic shops? All right, Ashton, I'm gonna let you go first. What are you looking forward to this week that's hitting the new release shelf at your local comic shop?
So I'm actually excited for this graphic novel adaptation of the classic, The Great Gatsby. ordinarily, I have a pretty strong viewpoint on like taking things out of their original and intended format and making them something else. Not a big fan of like weird adaptations or like reboots and remakes, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to this because I think a lot of the story in The Great Gatsby is told through like visual symbolism. So I think it actually has a lot of opportunity to translate really, really well. You know, things like the green light at Daisy's house that like Gatsby's always looking at, or like the billboard of the eyes when they go into West Egg, and all of those things I think could work really well at big extravagant parties. The one thing that I'm like really, really hoping for though is like I hope that they commit all the way to like the themes in this book. Like this book, it's a sad book. Like it's got a lot of darker themes. So I'm hoping that they don't shy away from those things. Like, you know, none of these characters are redeemable. They all suck. You don't feel for any of them. So I'd hope that there's no, like, I don't want any sort of like rewritten story, and I don't want them to make light of the fact that this book's a downer. Like, I hope they like really lean into Gatsby's death at the end. Like, I know that sounds really like cynical, but it's like, that's what makes the book so compelling, is that like it's not a redeemable story. None of the characters are redeemable. Like, that's just how it is. So they stay true to it.
We talked a little bit yesterday, but I told you that like in high school when I read The Great Gatsby for the first time, our teacher made us read like halfway through the book and then just showed us the Robert Redford movie to watch the rest of it, to experience the rest of it. And you know, if you read half of the book, you're under the impression that this is just a story about like partying and excess and people getting drunk all the time. And then of course we watched the movie, and of course it ends with fatal. Which it is. It occupies a good chunk of that story. But like at the same time, then we watched the movie, and like of course everyone dies. Not everyone, but a bunch of characters die in a car accident. And you're like, oh yeah, I guess that would make sense actually. So I'm curious too, and to point, it's a very visual story, especially with the extravagant parties, and I mean just the period, and like the depicting that period in illustration. Like it's kind of ripe for a comic book adaptation in that way, and I'm not usually big on that either, but I'm down with you on this. I'm down with this one for sure.
All right, so what's your pick?
You're with it.
I'm with it.
Wait, what happened there? Something really. Okay, you're just involved. Okay, I like it. 2 words, Ashton. My pick this week: Chainsaw Man. I think chainsaw is 1 word, right? Yeah, Chainsaw Man is my pick this week. It's from Viz Media. I'm such a child. Like, I just saw the cover, and the guy's got a chainsaw on his head, 2 chainsaws on his hands, and I was like, I'm in. Sign me up. Turns out that he hunts devils with his devil dog, and I'm just hoping this is as excessive as it sounds. Like I'm in the mood for something kind of over the top. I love trashy exploitation and just over the top grindhouse stuff. I'm hoping that's what this is. And based off the preview pages, which are on PREVIEWSworld.com right now, you can take a look right now. It seems like that's exactly what it's going to be, because the first page in our previews is just bloody and just ultra violent. So I'm into it. I want it. I'm into it. I want it. So absolutely. All right, let's talk about some big ticket items this week. What do we got this week? X Factor number 4, continuing the Ten of Swords crossover event, right? That's Leah Williams and her crew, and they're going to lean into the big. I guess it's tying into some old Excalibur storylines and some old Captain Britain stuff too. And we're going to get it. It's all going to converge into this big blowout involving Apocalypse and his original Horseman. So definitely check that out this week. Sorry, I'm trying to drink and talk at the same time. Hold on a second. All right. Strange Academy number 3. This is of course is from Scotty Young and crew and Humberto Ramos. Definitely kind of like a Harry Potter vibe, but with Doctor Strange, Wanda Maximoff, and some of the other mages of the Marvel universe. A lot of fun. Definitely check that out. What else we got? Stranger Things Science Camp number 1, again leaning into the supernatural vibe. Jody Houser returns to the Stranger Things books with Dark Horse Comics, and this of course is expanding on the Stranger Things TV show, which who knows when it's coming back at this point. So definitely get it in now, because might not be seeing any Stranger Things for a while on Netflix. All right. What else we got? Department of Truth. I'm actually really excited about this. This is James Tynion. He's doing a book where basically it turns out that every conspiracy theory that you could possibly imagine is true, which me personally, I love a good conspiracy theory, probably a little bit too much. So I'm really into this idea of what if they were all true and what does that mean? So definitely find out from the Department of Truth from Image Comics this week. And also The Boys, Dear Becky #4. And I want to point out, I did an interview with Derek Robertson, who's the co-creator of the Boys, and also does the covers for The Boys, Dear Becky, where he does a cover breakdown of one of issue #3, I believe it is, of this series. So definitely go to PREVIEWSworld.com and check that out right now because it's cool. It's a nice little insight into the creative process. Ashton, what else can you tell people about Halloween Comic Fest before we move on? Anything else that you can tell people that maybe we haven't touched on yet?
So I guess just a general overview. We're streamlining Halloween Comic Fest a bit this year just because Free Comic Book Summer ran, a little longer than it normally does. So our focus this year is mainly on the exclusives. We've expanded the amount of exclusives available. These are all comic shop exclusives. You can only get them at your local comic shop, but it kind of runs the gamut. Diamond Select Toys, Funko, Hyatt Toys, Cryptozoic, they all have stuff available. And although we are not offering free comics that you can get in the stores this year, we're still, trying to scratch that free comic book itch in a little bit of a different way. We're doing these cool Throwback Thursday articles every week, so we'll be spotlighting different comics from over the years, focusing on like various publishers and making all those comics available for free on our website as digital downloads.
All right, cool. So definitely check that out. And definitely support your local comic shop and participate in Halloween Comic Fest. And don't hog all the glow-in-the-dark RoboCops because I want one, okay? I'm just going to put that out there right now. Don't be stingy about that. Hey, look, we took the comics best-selling list on hiatus for a little bit, and now it's back. And so we're doing this is kind of new for us. We're going to be breaking the top 10 comics for the first time on the show. And this is actually going to be a regular thing. So Gretchen, who you might recognize from Game Trade Media, who does a bunch of great stuff for Game Trade Media, and you should definitely check them out. That's our sister company, is going to give you the top 10 comics for last month, August. Check it out.
Hey Previews World, Gretchen here, and I'm back with the top selling comics of the month. Here's what you were reading in August. So, did you pick up these issues? Let us know in the comments below and discover our full list of top 100 sellers from August at PREVIEWSworld.com for more.
All right, cool. And so here's the deal, right? You're probably looking at this and you're like, wait a minute, something's a little suspect, right? Well, okay, yes. All the top 10 books are Marvel titles. Like, I mean, yes, we know, we understand, we get it. There's a million reasons for that. Actually, there's really only one reason, and that has a lot to do with DC. But also, we're going to switch it up a little bit in future episodes, so it'll include some of the other publishers because, Marvel's killing it. What do you want me to say? I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, definitely keep an eye on the top 10. We'll have it also featured on our YouTube tomorrow, later today. So, and look forward to more breaking news and bestsellers every month here on the show. Also, John, do you have anything in the chat? Best indie comic this week, and that's from Manuel Jesus. What's up, Manuel? How's it going, man? We haven't read any of the books out this week because we haven't gotten a chance to go to our local comic shop because it is Wednesday. It is New Comic Book Day. But I can tell you, I am definitely looking forward to Department of Truth, and that's definitely, there's always that wiggle room with Image, which is like, are they indie anymore? Can you really classify them as indie? It's creator owned, so I'm going to classify it as indie, and I would definitely say the Department of Truth is probably the book to pick up this week from your local comic shop for sure. You co-sign that, Ashton?
I would think so. I mean, I love a good conspiracy theory. I'm down for that. I feel like I would end up reading this and have like it would just ruin my life. Like I would have 400 questions. Like, so I'm down for that. I support it.
Right. No, I could see myself reading this book and then backtracking to, like, of all places, Wikipedia, and just trying to connect the dots. Like, the Always Sunny in Philadelphia meme where it's like Charlie and he has the strings connected across the board. Yeah, that's going to be that I'm like a hair away from being that person. So it doesn't really require much to push me in that direction. So anyway, okay, what do we got here? Johnny Tyson, you guys are really professional on camera. You deserve more viewers. Okay, aww. I agree.
Thank you, Johnny.
I don't knock that. Yeah, I'm with that. Absolutely. So I'm gonna set this up for you a little bit, Ashton. We've got our segment. We've got issues this week, right? But it's got a little bit of backstory that I want to just kind of clarify on some things, right? So Jerry Conway, right? He's a veteran creator. He's been in the comics game for years. I actually think he was a writer on Law and Order too, if I remember correctly. He made a statement that was almost kind of apologetic for his generation of comic book writers because, in his own words, and I think there's some truth to this, they were obsessed with catering to an older audience as opposed to catering to a younger audience. Now, I'm not going to editorialize the statements here, but I will say that what came out of that conversation and what ended up being the things he actually said were kind of different, of course, because it's the internet, right?
Sure.
And I think that people thought that Jerry Conway was trying to throw the concept of continuity under the bus because his suggestion was, why don't we just stop all the superhero books right now, just stop them entirely and start them over, but with new number ones that are perfect for new, younger readers. And that turned into Jerry Conway hates continuity. That's not really what he said.
That's a reach.
Yeah, that's a reach. It's not really what he said, but it's also not what he said at the same time, I guess, if you really want to get not what he said. And I just want to be fair to Jerry Conway because I don't want to misrepresent what he was actually trying to get at. And I think that he has some valid points for sure. But ultimately, we presented that question to our viewers. And the question was, do you think continuity is a problem? So I'm going to give it to Ashton, and she's going to take it away, and we're going to let you guys sound off, and then we'll share our opinions on the topic. Go for it.
I disagree.
You lost audio again?
I couldn't find the audio jack.
It's all good. See, we just got a compliment about how professional we are. Out the window, gone.
Sorry, I'm so sorry.
It's all good. It's okay.
What would this show be if there wasn't one weird thing each week?
I know. That's why we do it live, so that it can just be weird randomly.
You're welcome. So what were we doing? Oh yeah, like Troy said, we asked you guys if continuity is the problem with superhero comics. This is the part of the show where every week I mess myself up, and I don't know why.
It's all good. We're here. Let's do it.
All right. So you guys said, Silas said, continuity is kind of what I like about comics.
Yeah, I can agree with that, actually.
Jeff said, continuity is the reason I love comics. It makes it hard to climb aboard long-running series, but there's nothing more satisfying than when my 30 years of reading the same book pays off. Mm-hmm. Scott said, rebooting the universe over and over and over and over and over again is the problem. Tom said, what continuity? The problem is they forget the audience, kids. No one needs 12-part stories stretching across 3 titles. The best stories were told in 1 or 2 issues. It seems the ability to do that has been lost. Alexander says, interlinked comics mean that following a storyline is like a scavenger hunt. Before you read this, you must read Teen Titans 65, Howard the Duck 20, and Barbie Dreamhouse 42. Love that. Perhaps not much of a burden when comics were $1. Today, no thanks.
All right. So Ashton, you had an interesting take, which I thought was, I think will take us down an interesting direction. Yeah. So what was your take on this whole thing?
Yeah, so I think continuity is a bit of a problem for superhero comics. I think it's very, very daunting to try and jump on board and to figure out what's going on. And, I feel like it's hard to just pick up a title and be 100% set about what's going on. There's probably a lot of context you're missing. And then that's where the whole reading all these 5 other books comes into play. But I think the biggest issue with superhero comics kind of in general has less to do with the comics themselves and more to do with the people reading the comics. And that's like, I feel like there's way too much gatekeeping surrounding comics. And I don't want to like target people here, but like Jeff kind of comes off like one of those people. Like, I'm super excited that you're getting your payoff for like 30 years worth of reading books, but like that's a pain for somebody that hasn't been reading that book for 30 years. Now it's like, now we're already on uneven playing field here just by virtue of that one thing. So I think the continuity creates a problem, but you can't even like address the continuity because you can't even access that in the first place because there's no way in. Or the ways to get in are very limited from the get-go. At least that's how I perceive it.
No, I mean, like, look, I struggle with the gatekeeping thing because I think that, on some level, I think that there needs to be on some level, and I know this is not a popular opinion, but I think that gatekeeping creates a standard. You know what I mean?
Sure.
A standard for the creators, a standard for the fans, a standard for the, for the market itself, right? And that creates a sustainability that I think is important. And, but at the same time, I do see, because I do run, we both handle social media. I do see the occasional comment where somebody's like, well, you don't know what you're talking about because you're not this type of fan and you didn't read issue, blah, 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 and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And I don't think that's helpful. I don't think that is, and honestly, if you're where I think we're experiencing this, I think we're literally experiencing this right now. If you're an outsider looking in, why would you want to get into comics? You know what I mean? Like it would be like you're seeing fans attacking fans, right? And you're seeing that already that's a barrier to entry in itself because it doesn't seem fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's like the number one reason to do this, right? To get into the comics game is like it seems fun. That said, like I don't even think that sometimes the gatekeeping is necessarily just the old guard. I think it's also the new guard too.
Absolutely.
And I think the new guard is that corner that also is like continuity is the problem. And I'm of the attitude that continuity is not the problem, actually. And the thing I disagree with Jerry Conway about is that he says that rebooting the books and giving them a fresh jumping on point is important, but they've been doing that for years. Like, you know what I mean? We had the Ultimates, we had Earth One, DC did the Batman. The Black is doing the Black Label stuff now, where it's just like you can just jump in and read it. You know what I mean? Marvel has the kids line from IDW, and DC had the DC Kids line. DC's doing a bunch of YA books right now. Like we're already doing that. You know what I mean? So I think there's a bit of a disconnect there on Jerry Conway's part. But I think but I say that all to say that I think continuity is not the problem. I think packaging and presentation is the real issue here. And the reason I say that is because, look, you get 30 pages of story, right? It's $5, right? And I got to be real with you. Like I can pick up a manga. I was going to try to pick up a manga right now, but they're all behind me. I could pick up a manga. It's $10 and I get 5 times that much story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that that's kind of a problem is like, maybe we should rethink the 30-page format. Maybe we should rethink the, the ads on the inside that take away from the story. Maybe writers and artists and publishers should kind of think more about like, how can I give the reader more bang for their buck? You know what I mean? And Marvel has experimented with this before. Like Marvel had a whole line of I can't remember the name of it right now, but Marvel had a whole line of original graphic novels that they did that like kind of like experimented with this idea. It was like $15, but you got like a 90-page story or something like that. So it's there. Also, I also say the continuity is not the problem because at this point, if you've been reading comics for any extended period of time, if you're reading comics for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, I guarantee you came into the story in the middle. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I would say that's true for just about anything. Like, I feel like most TV shows, I typically come in the middle and something grabs me about it, and then I go back to the beginning. You know what I mean? I'll even give an example with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Marvel Cinematic Universe, I mean, just based on box office, right? And just revenue, like they made more money each and every year over the course of 10 years. And that tells me right there that a lot of people came in the middle and then went backwards. and then we're like all caught up, and we're talking about 20 something movies, which is also kind of unprecedented and daunting in itself, but people are into it. So what is the problem there? Well, I think it's
but I don't know that you can apply that like directly to comic books though. Like I get what you're saying, and I think on some level that is certainly true, and there's never going to be like a perfect entry point. But when you're talking about a book, like if I was going to read a traditional prose book, like I wouldn't pick it up and like crack that thing open into the middle and like get going. Like there's a definitive starting point. So I don't know. I feel like maybe there needs to be more definitive starting points that aren't the beginning per se, but feel like accessible places to start.
And actually, no, and like that was actually my next point, which is that again, it goes back to presentation and packaging, right? And when I talk about presentation and packaging, I'm not just talking about like, the format of the book, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like I'm talking about also the way the story is told, and the way the stories used to be told back in the day is that, like, as someone pointed out, you could be on issue 232, but it was a two-parter. And you knew, okay, well, I know that Spider-Man's Peter Parker, and I know that he lives in New York. So I'm going to pick up issue 232. Oh, I get a nice little story about Firelord, and versus Spider-Man, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how they used to work. Now it's, don't get me wrong. I love the Hickman X-Men concept. I like what they're doing there. To someone's point, he's pulling stuff from years ago and like reinserting it and recontextualizing, which makes it a good payoff for guys like me. But at the same time, 20, 40, 50, 60 issue story arcs, it's daunting. And like, it's hard for a new reader to kind of like want to jump into that. So yeah, I think that, again, I think it's presentation and packaging. I don't think it's the continuity. I think the continuity matters ultimately because like I said, I don't think you should throw out the old audience. I think you should keep the old audience because that's more money for you. But you should also try to find ways to bring in new audience, that's appealing, but also just doesn't lose the thing that works for them. And again, I got to use the Marvel Cinematic Universe as an example. Like, they give you Captain America is Captain America. If I watch the Captain America movie, and then I go pick up a Captain America comic from 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 5 weeks ago, it's the same character, and that works. You know what I mean? So you're not losing something. There's continuity between the movie and the comic, but also there needs to be a continuity between the comic and the next issue, and so on and so on. So anyway,
see, I'm Johnny here. No, you're wrong. You're wrong. No.
Okay.
No,
oh my God.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Where's Chris Wallace? Where's Chris Wallace? No.
Chris Wallace can't help anybody. So let's just forget about that.
He might as well have not even been there.
So no, I wanted to jump in real quick. Hi everyone, producer Johnny Rose here. Something you touched on.
Johnny Rose.
Something you touched on was in terms of like TV. So I always kind of equate comics with soap operas, because soap operas have been running for God knows how long. If you're a fan of Days of Our Lives or General Hospital or whatever, are you really going to go all the way back and watch 20, 30 some years of this show to catch up to like the characters and what's happening in the current storyline? Probably not. You're going to jump in and try and pick up and try and piece together what's happening by becoming a regular viewer, participator in the medium. The same kind of goes for comics in my mind, because I can remember when I first started reading comics and I found out about Jason Todd. I'm like, who's this Robin? I've never heard of him. I went back, found the certain issues where it introduced Jason Todd's storyline, and I was able to get the pieces that I want to fill in the bits of information that I felt was relevant to what I'm reading now. I mean, like many people, I fell out of comic book reading for a long time, and I've gotten back into it in recent years. But picking up X-Men and like, oh, Jean Grey's dead and Professor X is walking. I'm like, when did all this happen? I've been out of the loop for so long. Do I have to go back and find all this stuff? It's like, but I feel like continuity does kind of help to establish the character's background and story arc, so you can kind of understand the motivations in terms of the character development. So I don't necessarily feel like continuity is a problem. I feel like as a reader, you can go back and find the bits and pieces that kind of fill in what you're looking for, but there's nothing saying that you have to be a completionist, that you have to have every single issue of X-Men, that you just read what you enjoy the hobby, and just take it for what it is.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that, again, I mean, like, in a way, that's not all comic books are like this, but that's what makes superhero comic books unique, is that bridged continuity. Now, I personally kind of feel that, maybe more Marvel than DC, because DC doesn't necessarily have to do that. I mean, that wasn't their thing for a long time, and then it was. But I actually want to bring up one other thing. And Johnny, I don't know, do you have the reaction, one of the comments that I posted? Okay, here you go. That someone posted. Sean Fitzgerald posted this, and this has been an ongoing concern with me. Then I think he's 100% right on, and he makes some points about the X-Men at the top. But I wanted to point out the thing that he said here, which is, I think the problem is that Americans overall just don't read. In 2004, 28% of Americans read for fun. By 2017, it was 19%. And so I kind of feel like this is the problem, right? I feel like this is the thing that, and you see it all around, right? I think I talked about this before on one of our other shows, but you see that people will read a headline and not the article, right? You know what I mean? Everything, people will read a reaction on Twitter, but not read the source for that reaction. You know what I mean? And so people will watch YouTube for a breakdown of a storyline sooner than they would read the actual storyline itself. And I think that has something to do, let's be honest, with Americans and reading in general. And I think that that's an ongoing problem. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, Raina Telgemeier is doing great here. And then there was that, what's the dog superhero comic that just came out not too long ago that was just blowing up all over Amazon. And I'm like, yes, that is good for Raina Telgemeier. It's good for that creator. I don't know necessarily if that translates to overall in comics. I don't know if it does. You know what I mean? And neither do superheroes. But at the same time, I think that there is definitely an issue with making reading fun, particularly for young boys, making reading fun so that they want to read. Because truthfully, if you have video games, which is a pretty male-dominated hobby, I would assume. Yeah. I think that's fair to assume. Maybe comic books might not be all that appealing to someone who has that source of entertainment instead. So I think that's the real issue here, but that's my 2 cents. Ashton, did you have anything else to say about this? Uh-oh.
No, you're wrong. No,
Johnny's
I'm wrong.
No, wrong. No,
wrong.
No. Show me. No, I'm not even going to get into it. Sorry.
Johnny just wanted to do his impressions. I see what's going on here.
I mean, I can respect it.
You respect it. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to throw in there, Ashton?
Yeah, I don't know what the fix is for that, but I think it's a larger problem across the board, and that's true of bookstores are dying in addition to comic book stores not doing great. I mean, America has never been the most greediest populace ever. And it's kind of exacerbated by technology. So I think I don't know what you can do about that, because I would like to think that a comic book is just as dynamic as a video game.
And it can be.
But that doesn't seem to be enough. I'm not sure what the issue is.
Well, no, I think it can be video game. Okay, first of all, I want to point out DJ Young agreed with me. Thank you, DJ.
All right, shout out to him.
But also, Johnny Tyson says, video games, when they become hard to play, they are no longer fun. I mean, I think that's fair. I have a whole Xbox library that's kind of half completed games. So I totally understand what you mean. But yeah, I think that we have to excite people about reading. When I was in school, and I'm going to date myself here, but we had the Reading is Fundamental program, right? And look, I was a big enough nerd that I was in the library all the time. I deliberately went to the library because, I was probably 14 or whatever, and didn't have money, but I could go to the library and read comics. I could read Jumper, I could read anything I wanted to. And so that was fun to me. And so we got to find a way to make people excited about reading again. And I don't know necessarily how we do that. I have some ideas, but I really wish the publishers would kind of strategize on that, I think. And I think that's really where the gap is in the situation. So anyway, soapboxed enough. We're at the 40-minute mark. I'm going to stop because I can keep talking about this on and on and on and on. Ashton, was there a poll this week? I don't know if we even discussed the poll this week. Was there a poll this week?
There was a poll this week. It was on Halloween Comic Fest. I asked everybody who would win in a foot race between a zombie and someone else. A mummy, between a zombie and a mummy.
Oh, a zombie and a mummy. Okay. Johnny.
And I like specifically made the decision, and I even put it in the post. I was like, I'm not telling you if this is a fast zombie or a slow zombie. Like, you guys need to suss that out for yourselves. And it caused like a bit of a panic.
Oh, really? Like, you gave everybody, you stressed everybody out with that.
Yeah.
That is hilarious. Johnny, you want to jump back in here and
really.
Cast your vote?
No,
not really?
No.
Not interested?
I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm looking off screen at the monitor. I'm not putting in context if it's a fast zombie or a slow zombie. You're all going to decide on your own. A mummy or a zombie?
Because if it's like a slow zombie, it's like that would be a close race. But if it's a fast zombie, I feel like the mummy would get smoked.
But then are we talking about like a mummy that has like powers? I'm thinking like Brendan Fraser's The Mummy. I mean, like a mummy can like, summon a sandstorm and scarabs after you. Or just like, I mean.
So you're not going to answer, Ashton. You're just not going to tell us.
It's just who would win in a foot race.
See, that was the whole thing. Is like I didn't give everyone all of the information they needed, and you know how like the nerd community like wants to break it down. I was like, we're going to keep it ambiguous, and that created a lot of concern.
Well, because of the fact that a zombie, I think, doesn't really have any kind of extra powers other than being able to like to bite you. I mean, if you can like get into a vehicle, outrun it. But I think the mummy has more powers that is going to like give it an edge. I mean, maybe it's going to win in a foot race, but it's going to use those powers against you to slow you down.
I would think so.
I'm going mummy. Oh, but everyone else disagrees.
Oh, zombie. You know, I think zombies are way more in vogue right now. I think that's why that happened the way it did. I'm calling shenanigans on this. I can't think of the last time I saw my God, what's the last big mummy movie? Was it the Tom Cruise movie?
Yeah.
Would you call that a big mummy movie?
Well, I was going to say it was expensive, but it also failed at the box office. So I don't know. But you know, zombies are in vogue these days. So I'm going to say there's some unfair bias in this situation here. That's what I'm going to say.
Well, that's probably true. I think this is closer than I was expecting, though, because I thought for sure everyone would be like World War Z zombie, like smokes them, done. So.
There you go. I actually don't like I love World War Z. I actually have a beloved copy of World War Z right here, but like I just don't like the visual interpretation of the zombie horde just piling on top of each other. I feel like that's cheating. I don't know. I mean, not that zombies play by the rules or anything like that, but you know.
Right. Like, what does that mean?
Let's jump over to the comic shop shout out. Who's the comic shop shout out this week, Ashton?
This week's comic shop shout out goes to Destination. Why am I like this? Destination Venus. It's in the UK. Not sure where because our friend Rick didn't specify, but we love Rick. And if you want to have us shout out your comic shop, find us on social media at PREVIEWSworld. Tag your shop if they have a handle and use the hashtag #SupportYourLCS. We will find it and we will shout out your comic shop and give them love because we love all comic shops equally.
There you go. And actually, I'll point out that I could have included where it was from, but I couldn't pronounce it, so I wasn't going to make you pronounce it.
Okay, thank you. Wonderful.
I was like, I don't know what the city is. I can't say it, so I'm not going to do it. Forget it. But yeah, shout out to Rick. And also, I just want to point out again, Ashton did a great interview with Alice Oseman on Monday. I was just giving her a little bit of crap earlier in the show, but she did a great interview with Alice Oseman. It's proven to be very popular on our YouTube channel, so definitely check that out, especially if you're just looking for something that's not superhero-y, right? We do a lot of superhero focused stuff here. We do a lot of the big four publisher stuff here, but this is something a little bit outside the box, so definitely check that out if you're looking for something different. Devil's Dominion. Tomorrow, I have an interview for a book from Black Box Comics called Devil's Dominion. It's a cool supernatural book. Definitely keep an eye on that. That's going to be on PREVIEWSworld.com. It's not a video interview. It's going to be a written interview. But we'll also have the trailer up on our YouTube. Actually, today. It's already up today. So definitely get a little sneak peek and then tune in tomorrow at PREVIEWSworld.com on Thursday to get a fuller idea of the story itself and might talk with Brian Hawkins and the rest of the creative team about what this book is and what exactly what nefarious supernatural things are happening just in time for Halloween. Check that out. And that's it. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us, guys. We appreciate your answers. Keep them coming. If you have anything you want to sound off in regards to continuity, we're here. We want to listen. We want to keep the conversation going because it's important. It's important that we talk about comics. You know what I mean? Like so many things occupy the nerd sphere that aren't comic book related, even though they are comic book adjacent. But you know what? We want to talk about comics, so keep the conversation going. And that's it for Previews World Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Troy Jeffrey Allen.
I'm your other host, Ashton Greenwood.
And we will catch you guys at the Spinner Rack. See you later.
Don't forget that you can catch Previews World Weekly streaming live every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific at Previews World on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.